Hey, muy buenas noches, everyone. I hope everybody doing well, blessed, and enjoying family. And as always, muchísimas gracias to everyone for your guys' words, prayers, and for your amazing support. Se los agradezco mucho, and I appreciate every single one of you. Thank you. Now, to get into the story in hand. Today, I want to get into mainly a camarada, right? And how sometimes, as much as you put in and the struggles you go through, at the end they hold less weight than what others do or deserve, right? But again, it circles back around to the worth is behind Feria and dope moving. But I wanted to talk about the homie Chivo from La Jolla. You know, me and Chivo, man, don't even know the exact year where we go back, but I know I was already supporting Terco, right? And you could say he was a veterano with Terco. You know, we're still in the linea doing our thing and at one point we were in Ironwood and I'm there frontlining it, you could say, for Terco, and he's there under different circumstances, you know, different angles. But at all times he made it clear that he is there to help the deal's wishes come into effect, right? So things unfolded as you guys already heard it, and eventually I left to Tehachapi, and I ran, well, not ran into the camarada, but on A or Corcoran, we were near each other when we came out to the dog cages, right? So he was doing his thing. He was at first he was in the Chineada with Artie, right? Cause of Tecum. Again, Artie see it fit to attack certain camaradas that were under Terco, but at the end of the day, even though they were at war, you hardly seen them take a camarada's career behind it, because I'm not gonna say Terco was feared, but he was respected, right? And they knew he took care of his soldados. Within time we ended up both in 3 block, right, in B yard, validated, and we were able to, you could say, work together a lot more in certain aspects, right? Because I always stayed in touch, It wasn't like you support a Billy and you back out completely and then go support another one. It just don't work like that. So, anyways, the homie Chivo, he was helping, you could say, with high desert, right? And one of his soldados, or one of the camaradas, that together they were building a front for Terco, was Yoda, right? From Westminster in Orange County. And this is a time where he's just a camarada. And, not to nitpick on who he was, and just to touch on the surface, he was a homie that I sincerely made a mistake. At least in the beginning. I always was a real good judge of a gente, right? I used to be able to cross paths with someone and be like, hey, oh no, this fool, tanto tiempo, and he's gonna hang him up. He was just that type of individual that, not gonna say he wasn't with it, cause I seen people have said that, and that's a lot, right? He had heart, and for a while, he was doing a lot of feria, and a lot of people don't really know, but back in the 90s, as with Chivo, there was a big bus in OC, right? where in a garage they busted a lot of material, a lot of strong weapons, and you know, I'm not gonna point fingers, but you guys get it, right? And he had a lot of people that was supporting him in that aspect de mover, material. But you can't take off from the things that were coming back, right? See, things unfolded in Cork and Shoe, as you guys know, and eventually cut my ticket up there and as Chivo, right? So we're up there, and now we're, you could say, well, it was mostly Chivo, right? When it came to the yard, I was just there helping in the essence that Chivo went out to court, or however, if you can't reach an avenue, there's got to be different guidelines to reach the bay, right? To touch Terco. And so we were hearing all the common things that were happening with Yoda. And to be sincere, from being on the streets, making good moves for money wise, right? Or movement wise for the MA, opening doors and, you know, stomping flags in certain areas. I'm not saying he was in, but he was there, right? He went into, people started speaking about him as a J-Cat, right? Uh, Mainly, you could say like a bipolar type of individual. From one moment he went from hot to cold, right? And, I looked at it, it's just different, right? It's if you've been around gente that are really with it, the ones that actually are quiet and dwell on things are the ones you gotta be careful with the most. And I looked at it like that, calladito but peligroso, right? Because at the end of the day, he was replying when it came to feria wise or having things done, right? But it comes a point where you can't ignore the complaints when it came to numerous camaradas. Because for those that been in the one area, know that mostly everybody's plugged up with somebody back there, right? So complaints start coming in. Of course, if the deal you're answering to has the jardín, then it don't matter how much you're plugged in, to fall in line and respect it. But it becomes a big old comadre game, right? Era, este cabrón anda por acá y anda sacando lenguas o anda viendo pitufos, right? Talking to himself or instigating, which was the main thing you used to hear, right? His thing with Judas, he had real low patience when in reality, unless a Judah is really out there disrespecting or directly disrespect someone, then it becomes a collective call and you're to move on them. Other than that, you're to show respect and they're untouchable for a fact that you don't want to bring that yard to a stale and have the feria stop being sent up there and there not being no movement. Because Judas, they tend to let things go. Just keep it in 100, sincere. They know from other active soldados, per se, right? They're aware of who's who in the yard, who's doing what. They're aware of everything. So they let it go. As long as there's a line of respect. They allow you to work, and if you don't mess with them, if you follow that rule that in reality is there in the shoe, right? Amongst the M and others, which is you to show respect and not cross paths with who does, right? Not start anything. So that, if they're messed up individuals, they're at least will turn their head when They don't feel like writing paperwork. You guys get where I'm going? But Yoda was the individual that he just made certain things get out of place with them, right? To the point that, like I state, Buddha started messing with camaradas. One of them being Smurf from Winter Park, right? That was another camarada that was on the tee, and he had the plug, right, or the avenue to touch the yard or bless the yard with material, which turned around into feria for tea, right? And it just became a big argument, and the homie ended up getting snatched up, right, for that, for IGI inspectioning him under him sending up to the caja, right? Which in reality, if they don't have them 3 points on you, they're gonna make them up. It is why it's so important to just show the utmost of respects and allow them to do their thing if they don't mess with you. Of course, you gotta always let them or flex up to a certain extent that respect gotta be both ways. But not as the camarada was doing it, right? Because we don't talk much as Yoda was doing, right? Getting into arguments with Judas. And the one thing that stood out a lot is that there was another camarada on the yard answering back there, and she would share the appeal with me where, Yoda was out of place. Not just disrespectful, but throwing T's name out there, like, them type of things that, who I'm in touch with, so and so, certain things that we don't speak about. But nevertheless, it was a homie in good standings stating this happened in his presence, right? It didn't come from third parties, maybe from a sobrino from a different tío, or, in that aspect, it came from a sobrino from the same tío, and that had nothing to gain from it, He was just reporting, because he's seen an uprising, if you want to say that, or a problem with the placas on the yard. And again, the one thing you don't want to do is have one of your actions stops the money flow back there. But nevertheless, when Yoda got questioned for it, of course, he wasn't there for being a dummy, right? And again, I'm not in any way, shape, or form stating that, he was a weenie, because he wasn't, J-Cat, let's be sincere now, of everything from his actions as a camarada to when he went out backwards, you can't say he wasn't, right? But again, a lot of people get hit from different directions, right? When it comes to doing time. So, I'm not going to say throughout his whole term he was like so, because he had to be in that position for something. But at the end of the day, sometimes in the movement, things just don't make sense. There was a soldado for many years stating to talk to him about what's going on so that they don't shut the yard down, just like a prevention type of thing, right? But since he's sending Feria back there, right? And he's known for having that backbone. So that could see more value in him than the other camarada. So next thing you know, we get that appeal from T telling us he feels this camarada is causing chaos amongst his circle, right? And he needs him removed. That's the only explanation. But if you were in the in the middle of the mobiles, and you tied one and one, right? So of course, it left a sore, it left a sore, at least towards the action that was being taken to someone that, in our head, honestly, he was worth more than Yoda was. Yoda was considered a problem, just leaving it like that. And from him being called out with fierros, with camaradas, and just straight up winning it out, we're talking about in public, right? Amongst other camaradas. It just spoke weakness all the way around, so it's just things you didn't understand. You couldn't put your head on the why, but it came back to, Feria. Him having support on the streets when it came to certain things, right? So they looked at him more as a value in that aspect, even though he was a train wreck waiting to happen. And if we knew it, T had to know it. But it's like when you make lemonade, right? Get that lemon and it's giving you juice. So you're gonna strain that as much and get as much possible before it gives out. And it don't matter who's solid, who's been with you for years. If this lemon is giving them more than what you're doing in that moment, then you're gonna get pushed aside and it's gonna keep squirting, you know, on that same lemon at any cost. And it was proven to me, again at this time, as you guys will hear my next story, it will be the last one in Pelican Bay and I'll move forward. As some of you seen, I got yelled at for lagging on my story, right? But I'm just trying to do it with respect and get it out there right at the end of the day. Even if something was to happen to the point where I gotta punch, it's gonna stay there, right? So I want to make sense. But I do understand, a lot of people want me to get to the next part, right? They get tired of state, which is understandable. But believe me, there's just so many things, I'm not touching on. But anyways, without losing track, I cannot go back with Chivo to 99, at least, right? And he was already doing things, big things for T, in the shadows. I had the Jardín, but I was aware of what he was doing. But, not everyone when you get slammed in the shoe have that open line to continue to keep doing things, to keep bringing to the caja, right? So Chivo felt he had that respect coming as everyone, including myself, make that mistake, right? Thinking that we have some kind of care or respect coming from a Billy. No matter how much you think you're valuable to them, right? At the end of the day, you're gonna get judged by what you're doing then and what the next man they're putting you in a balance with, right? And if the next man is doing more, all that I did goes out the window. So that exactly happened, You stuck, validated, and from Pelican Bay takes a lot, right, to have things going. I'm not gonna say I knew how to do them, cause sincerely, I think one of the main things why I maintained was because of family, right, and cause certain things I was doing in my town. Other than that, I would have been back there just taking space, right? One of the thousands back there that were just stuck back there, validated, single cell, and could only support like a secretary. As that's what happened, Yoda pressed the issue behind lies, stating that when he got asked why Chi all of a sudden was talking reckless, but it happened to be because one of Chivo's younger homies that was sailed up with him for a bit with Yoda on the linea, and Yoda from being in a good mood went to a bad mood and put tips on him, right? So the homie felt it wasn't right and it was time for Yoda to have something coming, right? Which it was the contrary. You know, Yoda said it's because of this, it's because on the streets he's putting stops to the things I want to do, you know, and it's for the mess. He paid it off right. And after so many years, Chivo wasn't useful no more. He was taking a bed that someone else could take that was bringing something to the table. And just that easy, you could throw your life away. You could go through whatever struggles. But do know, you know, dope and money come first and foremost. This is one of the only things I seen, like, when it came to T, that he turned his back on one of his soldados, right? Of course, throughout the years, I heard of many things, right? But at least when I was there, talking about my personal crossings, because later on, I also were in the feds when 2016, 17, somewhere around there, it reached Sana, right? That T and others had padrinado Yoda to become a member, and it had passed. You know, even Sana, we were like, oh hell no. Sana was in touch with a lot of homies from OC, right? So he was aware of who was who, how they were. And it was just something straight out of pocket, right? Because even if he wasn't a full-blown J-Cat, he still had them J-Cat, you know, tendencies. He had sugar in the tank when it came to certain things, right? I'm bucking up. I'm wiggling like a man, right? With another soldado. For some reason, he ended up with Judas because I guess a lot of people look at you stabbing a Juda or moving on them as something like, whoa, but in reality, it's probably one of the safest things you can do, right? Because they're going to take it, and yeah, every yard you go to, you're going to get your butt whooped by them, but you know they're not going to take you out. That's another race. That's you manning up with a soldado, making a personal issue, and I'm gonna let's boogie in the cell. When that he felt to be a soldado, you know, and this on a personal note. So it was a big shocker when they made him, but again, you know, what he did drunk on the yard T later on too was, you know, like damn. Something he took many camaradas' careers over. And you guys seen how Yoda went out, right? Because a lot of people talk about, oh, he felt this Huda disrespected, he dwelled on it. You know, basically, a lot of people defend him from being a J-Cat, but when they speak about his action, it's a straight J-Cat's action. You know, and he moved on it. But, you know, from personal conversations with people that were there, they look at it like he wanted to get off the yard. First, certain things that happened beforehand. So it was a peseta move to take off on the Jura. So he gets snatched up right away and removed. And he had the opportunity to say, smell you later, right? But it was just one of them times that a lot of people did not understand it, including myself, right? Backtracking to personal notes, like again, he got favor, at least in my case, with these two camaradas that I personally had crossings with and was aware of things, right? And it's just something that goes to show how much they're going to value your work, your sacrifice, your aching. Because, for those that tell you you're going to go up there and earn your stripe, they don't tell you the struggle sitting in a cell day in, day out. Or the funny rules you're going to have to follow, or else you're going to have the closest camarada to you slice another smile. Or they don't tell you that the minute you don't agree with something or one of them saying, you're going to go to that side where everybody's going to consider you basura. You know? But again, I tell this to those that have time to, be smart. Value those that I bet you if tomorrow you do something like, let's just say, jefito, jefita, or kids, right? You know, here goes a little round fly, right? To help you move around. They're gonna value and remember it for life. Value those that have some value. There's many childhood homies from your neighborhood that they deserve that. That if you go into prison with them and one of you two messes up, they're gonna utilize one of you two to move on the other. Be loyal, but to those that deserve to be loyal to. Stay true to yourself and loyal to your loved ones. Muchas gracias y muy buenas noches.